Hi everyone, my name is Ruben Zeha. I'm from Ontario, California. My graduation year was 2010. My current job title is Lead Associate Scientist, and I am located in Culver City working out of Northridge. So my career path was pretty standard coming out of UCLA. I had did some undergraduate research beginning my second year as a sophomore. And when I graduated, my PI, whose name is Talal Shatila, big shout out to that guy, he offered me a full-time position at his immunology lab. And a couple of years later after that, in 2011, he moved the lab to Harvard and he gave me a choice. He said, come with me, I'll make you lab manager and we'll do some great research together. So I followed him across the country, and for 2 more years, I was his lab manager, and I worked with some amazing people there at Harvard with a partnership with Children's Hospital Boston, and we did some of the best work I've ever done with him. And that was up until 2013 when I moved back to LA, and that's when I definitely struggled a good amount. I had difficulty finding another job in research that really sparked my passion the way the first lab did. And after a couple of bumps at a few labs that I wasn't a great fit at, I sort of stumbled into a job as IT in technology for a small startup. And what began as a quick break and a little breather to get myself, readjusted to moving back home, slowly turned into a little bit of a rut. And it took me about 4 years working at that job in IT before I made the decision to come back to science. I did a lot of research as I'm accustomed to. So I reached out to my old lab mates, I reached out to my mentor, my old PI, and they really did help me kind of zone in on where I could apply my want for wet lab and bench work at research, but in an area that was more privatized and a little bit quicker paced. So I applied for 2 jobs a day for 5 months straight until I got the job that I'm at now. And even when I entered the job here, I began as an RA1, so Research Associate 1. So kind of had to rebuild myself from the ground up. But in 2 years' time, they liked what they saw and they promoted me to Lead Associate, RA2, and from there, Lead Associate Scientist. And now, as a lead associate scientist, I'm definitely starting to spearhead their R&D department into different avenues and different products that they might be able to branch into. So it's definitely a little bit of the best of both worlds now, for sure. We're constantly hiring for RA1s, and that was true a year ago. It's true now. We didn't expect to still be carrying this momentum through the COVID, through the pandemic, but it has not slowed down our industry at all, not in the slightest. And I think what's important to know is that the best thing to present yourself is an inherent knowledge, right? The ability to learn. So I think one of the things that we look for in our RA1s, we don't expect you to know everything or anything about the current job you're applying to, because we'll teach you that. We just want to know that you can be taught. So one of the best things to do is list all the techniques and procedures that you know. Even if you don't think you're an expert in it, if it's something that you have a baseline knowledge of, put that down, because we want to see that you have acquired knowledge over your time, because that'll help us facilitate the teaching process down the road. So definitely post everything that you think you know, even if you don't think you know it that great. You'll be surprised by what you can do, and really presenting yourself as having a strong foundation to build off of, I think, is very important when entering any field, especially science. Absolutely. So I think one of the things that people underestimate with science is they think it's very pigeonholed. You know, you're going to be a doctor or a nurse or do academic research, and that's it, right? So I think it's important to know that the field is so vast. We're constantly hiring for research associates, ones and twos, and this is in the private sector, let alone academic. Academia is a great place to get your foothold. It's a great starting place. And in either private or academic sectors, you can expand with higher education. Masters are really important. Don't let anybody scare you away from PhDs either. Those are very beneficial to you too. They carry you very far, albeit a lot of work. But right now you can go into work as a recent graduate, as an RE1, RA2, in academic or private. Lab management, if you have experience managing labs in your undergraduate, that still goes far. Manufacturing is very hot right now with biopharmaceuticals are going through a huge boom and not slowing down. So manufacturing is a great place that's structured. The day-to-day is consistent. So that's a really good place to kind of hone your craft. If you're looking for more practice, manufacturing is always a good place. And then even higher education, clinical lab scientists are very hot right now. So that requires a year or two of further study, but you can go and get a job at any hospital, any private sector where people are always looking for CLSs. So clinical laboratory scientists, manufacturing, research, the world of science is so much more than just medicine. So I thought that COVID was going to slow things down, but it's just sped things up. Our company has sped up our hiring process. So we hired in the pandemic recently. We've hired 3 new hires, and we're on track to hire 2 more people next year. So I think that the need for work is still very high in our industry, and specifically how COVID is going to affect it. I think we're seeing a big push towards T cells. I think that is the new hot topic in immunology is T cells, specifically T regulatory cells. We're seeing a lot of companies put in orders for those type of cells. Stem cells, CD34, huge boom right now, big need for that. And then just in general, the industries that are very, very big are flow cytometry. If you have experience in flow cytometry, if you can get experience in flow cytometry, that's a market that's only getting bigger. It's a tool that's very sought out for. Cell culturing is also a big deal, especially now that people are creating vaccines or they want to see how cells interact with viruses or things like that. Cell culturing is going to be very, very important. So I think those 2 things, flow cytometry and cell culturing, specifically T cells and T regulatory cells, are going to be very good for anybody. I think the thing, and I mentioned this, or I touched upon it, I think the thing I wish I would have known more about is just how many options there are available for you, outside of medicine or inside of medicine as well. People think about doctors and nurses, but they forget about the clinical lab scientists. People think about academic, but they forget about privatized research. So there are so many different avenues that you can do. And even outside of your field, we hire biochemists for immunology work all the time, and they're some of the best workers here. So expand your view, expand your field, expand what you think you can do, and you're going to go far. Go Bruins, baby!